I help clients relocate here from all over the world, but one license plate I've seen a lot of lately is Florida. Being that I am a halfbacker myself, which means that I am from the Northeast, I lived in Florida for 12 years, and I've moved halfway back and living in the Carolinas, I was a bit curious. I've helped a lot of people move to this area from Florida, and I get a lot of calls from people who are thinking about moving here from the Sunshine State. Since you are searching for answers and looking for the real truth about moving from Florida to North Carolina, I wanted to ask my clients some questions about their thoughts of moving from Florida to North Carolina. I asked them 11 questions, and while I'm going through the answers to those questions, some of those answers might totally surprise you, and some of them may absolutely shock you. So be sure you stay tuned until the end so you don't miss anything about moving from Florida to North Carolina. So with these 11 questions that I have the answers to, I'm going to be looking at my notes or looking down at my notes quite a bit because I have a lot of information that I want to share with you, and I really don't want to miss anything that I want to share with you. The first question I asked is, what motivated you to move to the Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point area of North Carolina? And the answers were all over the place. One person said weather, one person said the influx of people that were moving to Florida. At the time, it was just insanity. She said that there were people who were just coming in droves and just clogging up all of the roadways, and it was just insane. Another person moved here because their family is here. One person likes the change of seasons, another likes the change of pace, and feels safer driving here. One said that they prefer to not be surrounded by a concrete jungle or by plastic people. And one said that they're tired of season and snowbirds. So with this particular person, she works in the hospitality industry. So she felt like that everyone was always on vacation and she was never on vacation. So even though it's supposed to be all sunny and happy feelings down in Florida, when someone's in the hospitality industry like her, she just felt kind of like sad and depressed and kind of left out because she was working while everybody else was having fun. The next question I asked is, are you glad you came to this area of North Carolina? And for the most part, everybody said yes, but one said no, and one was undecided. So the one who said no, I asked why. Why is that person unhappy with the decision to move here to North Carolina? And she said, because she moved here to be closer to family, and now her family has decided to move to another town in the Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point area, which is where she lives in that same area, but just not going to be in the close proximity like it is now. So that's why she's unhappy with her decision that she moved here. The next question I asked is, how would you compare the food choices here when compared to Florida? And one said that she doesn't like to compare foods because in every part of the country and every state and different areas, you have all different types of foods. So she just likes to embrace what's already here rather than making a comparison between this area of North Carolina and where she lived down in Florida. Others said that they missed having fresh seafood. And it's not that we don't have seafood here. We do have seafood here, but I get it. I used to live in Florida too, that you could go really close to the beach or some restaurant where a boat is going to pull up and deliver fresh seafood right to that restaurant. So being that we're more inland and we're not so close to the coast, we're not going to have that fresh seafood choice like you would down in Florida. You have to sort of seek it out when you go to restaurants, and it does say that there's fresh seafood on the menu, but it may be a bit of an adjustment. And one said that not all the Walmarts are the same. So she'll go shopping at one particular Walmart and pick up the items that she normally gets. And then if she's driving somewhere else and sees another Walmart, she just pulls into that Walmart thinking that she'll be able to get the same items that she got at the one that she usually shops at, and has found that they don't carry those items at that Walmart. And if they do carry those items at that Walmart, she can't find them because they're not in the same place of the other Walmart where she normally shops. And then one said that he misses having ethnic food choices. So down in Florida where he lived, there were a lot of ethnic restaurants. It's not that we don't have ethnic restaurants here. We do have them, but it's something that you have to sort of seek out and look for. The next question I asked is how they felt about the traffic. They all agreed that the traffic is better here. And what they don't miss about Florida is that the snowbirds used to drive them nuts, which I can totally relate to that because snowbirds used to drive me nuts too. That there's more distance driving here, but the scenery is so beautiful that you don't really feel that you're in the car as long because there are all types of nature things to look at between the trees and the rolling hills and just the greenery in general. And then one said you do have your occasional traffic jam, but that's usually due to some kind of road construction or possibly an accident. But what this person does not miss is fearing for her life when she has to drive to work in the morning, knowing that there's a pretty good chance that the other drivers aren't going to be drinking and driving. Where she lived down in Florida, the retirees would start having their alcoholic beverages by 10 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to go to one social event to the next social event. So it was kind of crazy that she was always fearing for her life when she'd have to drive to her job in Florida. Comment below on what comments have totally surprised you or completely shocked you. So the next question I asked is, how do you feel about the Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point area now that you've been here for a while? And overall, everybody loves it except for one. One wants to move back to Florida. She says that she really misses the heat and that the winters here in North Carolina are too cold for her, and she prefers the winters in Florida. The next question I asked is, well, what do you like about it specifically? You know, can you be a little bit more specific what it is that you like about this area compared to where you lived in Florida? One said that he feels that the size is just right, that he loves where they live. It's very close to medical, any kind of sports thing that you want to go to, grocery stores, restaurants, everything's within like about 15 minutes from where he lives. So he absolutely loves that. One really loves the lower cost of living here. One said that she lost weight because she's able to get out and walk her dog more because the weather here is a lot more mild compared to where she lived in Florida. In Florida, as I'm sure you know, it seems like it's hot and humid a lot more days than it's not. And so she was inside a lot more and not getting out and exercising as much as she would like to. And now that she's living here, she's lost weight. One said that he was able to get a lot more bang for his buck when he bought a house here because he did so well on selling his house in Florida and made pretty good money. So he was able to buy a house here in cash. Also, another said that they felt like it's a really great central location, that you can get to the mountains in a couple hours. You can get over to one of the beaches in about 3 hours. Charlotte's not too far away. If you want to go have a dinner or go to a concert, they have like an outdoor amphitheater that has a lot of concerts that come there. So it's really a very doable drive. So then I asked, well, is there anything that you don't like about it? And one said that he had higher expectations of this area before moving here, but now he's getting used to it. One said that they really prefer to be out in nature anyway, and they did a lot of research before they moved here from Florida. They came up and did some visits, and they just realized that the Florida lifestyle is just not for them, that the North Carolina lifestyle is more their speed. One said that she noticed that there's a lot of power lines here that are like near the subdivisions or kind of going through it, like a lot of power lines just all over the place. And this is why you would need to reach out to me so that we could do a Zoom call and I can ask you some specific questions on what your lifestyle is like, what you're looking for, what you're looking to spend, what to stay away from. And then I can suggest to you some areas around the triad, which is Winston-Salem, High Point, and Greensboro, and all the little towns in between, based on those answers that you give to me. All my information is pinned in the first comment below, and my contact information is at the bottom of the screen. The next question I asked is, do you have any regrets leaving Florida and now living in North Carolina? One said not really, but does miss the social aspect. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention to anyone who's moving. Doesn't really matter where you're moving from or to, whether it's from Florida to North Carolina or North Carolina to someplace else. Once you move to that place, it's really important to get involved in your community. Whether you do volunteer work or you get on a website like meetup.com and see what's going on with different interest groups like book clubs or wine tasting clubs or beer tasting clubs or whatever it is that you're interested in, or even like a hiking club, for example. Facebook also has a lot of social groups around here, as well as churches. So all of those types of platforms can help you to develop your social life here. Because if you don't develop your social life, then it can be a really lonely place. And then if you don't make any friends and if you don't have family nearby, then it can make you not like the place where you're living. The next question I asked is, have you considered going back to live or moving back to Florida? And all said no, but two answers did stand out that I want to share with you. One said that there's no tropical atmosphere out his back door like it was in Florida, but doesn't mind taking a road trip to the coast and seeing some palm trees on the coast in South Carolina, which you can get to the coast of South Carolina probably in about 3.5 to 4 hours. One client said that she would really like to be a snowbird. So she would like to spend half the time in North Carolina and then the other half, like summer and fall here in North Carolina and winter and spring in Florida. The next question I asked, besides the obvious, the beach being close to where you lived in Florida, what's the biggest difference you see living in the Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point area versus where you lived in Florida? Well, a lot of nature, trees, lakes, hills. You don't have to drive far to get out of the urban areas. They feel like there's more normalcy with the people here. Of course, you still will have people you don't care about, but overall, they feel like there are more real people here who are more like them in regards to beliefs and just the way of life. Like there's not so much transience, I guess, in general. And the last question I asked is, how does the cost of living in North Carolina compare to where you lived in Florida? What's the biggest difference you see in the cost of living? One person said it's much better in North Carolina. Overall, really big difference they notice is the home insurance, and they don't have to live in fear of being canceled or dropped. And one other person said the same thing, that they don't live in fear that their home insurance company is going to cancel or drop them. They feel like everything is cheaper here, from homes to utilities. They can go to stores and that's a lot cheaper. Property taxes on the houses and on care is still less than paying for only property taxes in Florida. And here it comes out to be a third of what she was paying in Florida, but that may not be for everybody. It depends on the situation. She used to pay $8,000 in property tax, and car insurance was more too. And now she only pays $1,600 for home and car tax. Property tax on cars. So we have home tax and property tax. So we have property tax on your house and property tax in your car. And for her, that total combined is coming out to $1,600 a year versus what she was paying before at $8,000 a year. And one said that they were so house poor in Florida between having their mortgage, property tax, home insurance, hurricane insurance, and flood insurance, and higher car insurance, that it was killing them financially. And they were sucked into the whole no income tax state. But the money they thought they'd be saving by living in Florida, they ended up spending all of that on all this insurance that they needed for their house and hurricane and flood and car. And they just felt like they were being nickeled and dimed for anything that they wanted to do. So for everything costing less, the homeowner insurance, the grocery bill, and also more food shopping options and more things to do, they just feel that that's the biggest difference that they see from moving from Florida to North Carolina. So again, this is why you would need to reach out to me so we could set up a time to meet on Zoom. We could pull up the map. I can ask you a few questions about your lifestyle, suggest a few things to you, and then that way you can make an informed decision if Florida would be a good state to live and North Carolina would be a better option for you. And the last comment about what they saw was the biggest difference is that the churches here seem to give out food on certain days of the week, and a lot of families are struggling right now and need that extra help. And here it just feels like there's a more sense of a community in North Carolina. Car insurance is less. All of their bills have gone down for a family of 4, including their utilities. Also, they just feel safer in their neighborhood because when they're driving through the neighborhood, people wave and say hello. When they moved in, neighbors went over to introduce themselves, and they just felt like this sense of community, which helped them feel safer in their neighborhood. Whereas where they were living in Florida, they didn't really get that feeling. Nobody acknowledged that they lived in the neighborhood. Certainly no one knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you." So overall, they just feel like it's more of a sense of community here, and they really love that about this area. So that wraps it up about the real truth about moving from Florida to North Carolina. If you haven't already, comment below on what you found to be the most surprising or the most shocking. Feel free to contact me with any questions or to help you with your home search. All my information is pinned in the first comment below, and also my contact information is at the bottom of the screen. And until the next video, I'll catch you later.